Well, hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of Harebrained Games, the week in games. This week, it's the middle of April, which means April rains are afoot and asunder, which means yet another reason to be able to play games inside without reservation or guilt. This was a great week. Last couple weeks ago, I had a chance to reconvene with some old friends who I'd played board games with, and over time, as happens with groups, they had diffused away into life as we all had. But I have to say that there's something really invigorating and just motivating about reuniting with a group of people like no time had passed. It was fantastic. I learned a game Gizmos, which was great. Played a little Pandemic, the version with where you have to keep the water from flowing in. Yeah, didn't work out well. Anyway, let's get to the news. Alright, I'm going to start changing news to be just top 3 news items, because if I can't curate better than that, then I'm just blabbering. So, news item number 1, there's a new Kickstarter out from a guy named Brian Suhr. Hopefully I sounded that right. A creator and designer of Coldwater Crown and its expansion. It's the only fishing game that's lasted the test of time for me. And it's called Fly Fishing. Now this is not just a recreation and a reskin of Coldwater Crown, which dealt with just standard fishing or stuff. This is specifically fly fishing. This got some real differences, as in you can have a real reel for a player board. That's pretty surreal, huh? It looks to be quite a bit different, which I actually appreciate, that it's not just a reskin. It was definitely a no-brainer back for me, because when it comes to his stuff, it's a pretty sure thing. But anyway, to let it know so that it doesn't fly under the radar, it's called fly fishing, freshwater fly. Say that 5 freaking times fast. Anyway, next up, I am a sucker for flicking games. I think we all know this. I think we all have seen my SEAL Team Flicks greatness as I flicked into oblivion. But I think even this might be a stretch. There is a new game coming out this summer called Star Trek Conflict. Now, by definition, it just seems, yeah. But here's the thing, it does have a very pedigreed designer, Mike Elliott, who's done Thunderstone Quest and Fleet Captains, Star Trek Fleet Captains. And it does have some elements of it that look like it's a takeaway from Ascending Empires, which is one of the first and best flicking games before SEAL Team Flicks came along. So its release date is summer 2019, and yeah, as much as I have spent so much money on games, it might be time to sell another organ to make room for yet another flicking game. And thirdly, finally, this seems to be Kickstarter day, but except it's not Kickstarter for Star Trek Conflict, but Papillon, or Papadopoulos is a game coming out on Kickstarter that seems like the next Everdell in regards to its art. Its charming, glorious, fantastical, just crazy fairy tale looking art. It has actual 3D flowers that you construct that take shape, and it's got butterflies that are clips that you put on your flowers, and that's apparently how you get points. I mean, everything about it smacks of just delicious immersive production. And it's backed by the same group that did Western Legends and Aeon's End, and they've done a really good job of being solid in their delivery timetables. For me, I'm on the fence, because it is a garden game. The actual gameplay seems very pedantic, like Gardens of Alhambra, which I despised. But I'm still holding out hope that maybe it's more interesting than I'm letting on. But if you look at the artwork, it could be like just astounded by how cool looking it is. Be that as it may, take that for what it's worth. And with that, let's get to my question of the week. Okay, here's a question I get a lot. You can play games by yourself? Yes. Yes, I can, actually. There's a groundswell of interest in solo games that has taken root in the last 3 or 4 years that's made it absolutely possible. In fact, a lot of games are almost a lot of game designers are almost feeling like unless the game really just doesn't command it, a solo variant is oftentimes a selling point that's never been there before. 10 years ago, it was mocked like, why did you play solo games? Games are playing for friends. Why don't you play a video game if you want to play solo? And honestly, people are really jumping on the solo train, locally and otherwise. Now, naturally, I would never take solo over playing with a group of friends, because that's really, the interaction is there. But I have found just the maturation of solo variants and solo gaming has been way, way on the rise. And so yes, you can play games by yourself. And yes, some of them are like puzzles, but yet some of them are like experiences, adventures, etc. Almost role-playing it. So there's almost like a crossover there. So that is the question of the week that I've been getting recently from people who, they're just board gaming, used to the old sort of standard stereotypes, and now it's a whole new world, single or otherwise. So anyway, let's get to my 3 games of the week. Game number 1. Just arrived. Heroes of Land, Sea, and Air. This is a monster game for components, man. This one is thick and mighty and took hours to set up and build and construct and glue the pieces. I'm so far grooving on it. I will probably do a review of it, but I will let you know how it goes. Game number 2, because you can never have too much heroicness. Heroes of Land, Sea, and Air, the Order in Chaos expansion, which is just as big and mighty as the last one, comes with 4 additional factions to make it so you have 8 choices to take and a 5 to 6 player expansion. This thing is mighty. The designer is known for his tiny epic series that come in a box of chiclets. This is not that. You could probably fit all of his other games into one box of delicious chocolatey Heroes of Land, Sea, and Air. And finally, third, is a game that we're going to talk about. It is, long rectangle. Res Arcana. Res Arcana is the latest entry from Tom Lehman, known for Race for the Galaxy and some others. One of the first games I ever bought from him was a game called Phoenicia, which was a half-to-bake game that I think he was pretty upset about the publisher not really doing a good job of. It was mighty. But then since then he's been doing hit after hit and interesting game after interesting game. Res Arcana is strange because it's not straight up fantasy. It's actually a mishmash of different sort of themes and whatever, with the idea that it's kind of a, I don't even know how to describe it other than say that you have a bunch of things to do to basically make victory points. So it's a victory point game, but it's very quick and it has some quirks to it that I'm still ironing out. So I'm giving this a shot, and maybe there'll be a review in the future for it. So with that, let's get to my Is Tim Full of It? Okay, going in our alphabetical list of games to decide if Tim was full of crap and how he rated them, the next game on the list is 1955, The War of Espionage. This was meant to be a streamlined, solidified, condensed version of a Cold War kind of game. I rated it a 5 at the time, even then, because having bought it and played it, I didn't feel that it grabbed me particularly, but I thought that it was solid. Now I would say that I was slightly full of crap because I don't even think I'd give it that much credit. To be honest, it just failed to fulfill pretty much anything I'd want a game to do, even a distilled game one. It's not that it's terrible, but it's not. And honestly, it might have been better if it was terrible. I probably would have remembered it better. But once you... Yeah, it tries to be a Twilight Struggle game condensed down. And honestly, the fact is, when you play Twilight Struggle, you have vivid memories of going back and forth with your opponent on the tightrope walk of tension of the Cold War. When you play this, you have amnesia. That's it. There are games that have come out since that have tried to do the same thing. Some have been successful, like 13 Days, which... great Cuban Missile and the Great Cuban Missile Crisis thing. Yeah, and then there's some that just like Twilight Squabble, which was not even like barely worth mentioning. I won't even talk about the review I'd give that one. But yeah, no, I think in this case I was full of crap, and I would probably rank it a 4 now instead of a 5. It did not stand the test of time. Anyway, that's it for this week. I hope you guys have a great week as we head into Easter Sunday, a week from Sunday. I plan to enjoy the rest of these rainy days and make the most of them. We'll probably have a couple of reviews coming up in the next couple weeks. I'm not sure which they are yet, but whatever they are, I definitely guarantee you they'll be there. Anyway, thanks again, and we'll see you next time on Harebrained Games.